DDP defeats Sean Strickland via decision at UFC 312 yesterday night. What a performance. I mean, incredible performance by DDP. I'm a little bit disappointed when it comes to Sean Strickland into what he had in his arsenal. And what did he have? He had a jab, he had a cross, and he had a teeth kick or a front kick. The DDP that showed up was a much more well-rounded fighter, and the evolution of him as a fighter was just amazing to witness, amazing to see. Couple key points to take in consideration off that fight. I mean, yes, like Jerry had kind of tweeted out, he's the most unrhythmic, untechnical, champion of all time, but he still gets it done. And what perseverance. His conditioning was just so up to par. And one of the things we do dissect the round by rounds, and we start with the odds. And round one kind of started, and DDP immediately with the jabs pressing forward. It didn't really allow Strickland to kind of set the Strickland pace. So one of the things that happened against Paulo Costa versus Strickland is Strickland was able to impose his conditioning, and that really got Costa tired. This time around, DDP was throwing too many combinations. The fact that his kicking arsenal was on point this time, it was fabulous to see. Low kick, high kick, question mark kick, high kick. All the kicks were coming from everywhere, and DDP didn't really have an answer for it. He was just kind of in his shell position, staying there. He did land a couple good jabs, but jabs don't, the jab, the cross, and the teeth kick don't win fights, and one of the things that Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson says about Sean Strickland's fighting style, which is absolutely truthful, is that he hasn't evolved. He came with the same three combination, like the same three: jab, cross, jab, cross, teeth kick, jab, overhand right. When things get a little bit desperate, there was no sense of evolution. And entering to the second round, I think that's when DDP started to kind of distance himself, show the champion he is, and Strickland could have never recovered. I think it was in the fourth round that DDP just broke his nose, and it had Sean kind of stepping back. And one of the things that Sean had said prior to the press conference is, I lost my last fight because because of the eye cut. Well, turns out now it's the nose cut, and it's extremely hard for Sean. Sean was for Sean. He was saying he dislocated it, the breathing pattern. There's gushing blood. DDP was going for the kill. Shout out to Sean. Sean just ran in the octagon, and he was just trying to get his composure back. But I have to say, amazing round, amazing everything by the champion. The champion persevered, was throwing a ton of spinning attacks, spinning elbows, spinning punches, which landed on Strickland. And Strickland did catch him a couple times, but I just think it's the weird style of the champ DDP. I wanted to kind of dissect, because a lot of people were like, well, Sean landed more strikes. Well, it's similar to last fight. I mean, this time around, DDP's output was just way more higher than Sean's. I mean, the kicking arsenal, you could kind of see there. And if you base it on significant strikes, you can kind of see that Sean had 2%, but DDP landed the more effective strikes. And you can kind of see here that rounds 1, 2, 3, and 5, the champion outpointed the challenger. But we kind of see what happened in round number 4, and that's fine. If you look at these metrics, you kind of say, you know what, let me give Sean the round. But one of the things we need to, we need to contribute to this is that DDP ended up busting Sean's nose, ended up, clipping him, hurting him. And, it caused Sean to rush, and it took him kind of like the end of the round just to kind of get his composure. So by there, you got to give it 50-45 for the champion DDP. He landed a takedown. He showed the evolution. I like that, he, in the press conference, he kind of stated that he wants Imavov to fight Kyle. And I think that's a great fight, because, I mean, Rob shouldn't fight for the title coming off of loss. Izzy needs to figure out, needs the time off. So you have those two, and then you welcome Chimaev. And while that is getting settled, shout out to him for calling the champ Alex Pereira, which I think it would be a great fight. It would showcase how big DDP is. DDP is a big boy in that division. Where does he go from here? I say, you know what, have him fight Hamzat. He's probably going to come in as the underdog. With the relentless style that Hamza had, is going to be very intense. You also have the Alex fight, assuming Alex disposes of Magomed Ankalaev next month. I think that's a great fight in champion versus champion, because we need those super fights in a way now for DDP to propel him to that kind of stardom, right? And also, Alex is a draw. One of the things is that we take into consideration when we're on X, we kind of see the level of engagement that these cards get. And I have to say, Alex Pereira fights, the engagement is so much higher. Like, it's insane. The impressions, the buzz, the everything. So yeah, I mean, look, for DDP, if I'm chomping at the bit, I want to fight Pereira for the title. We just need to see what's going to happen next month. What do you do for Hamza? I think Hamza should wait. So it's one of those situations where if Alex wins his next fight against Magomedov, which is also in Ramadan, you need to really consider these two, because it's hot. It's not every time you get the middleweight champion going up against the light heavyweight champion. And the last time that happened, that was against Israel Adesanya versus, where's my guy? They took my guy off the ranking. No, he's right here, versus John Blachowicz. I think it was like in 2020, 2021. Izzy kind of lost by decision. It was 2 close rounds. The champion ended up edging it by 3 rounds, but I think that's the fight to make. And what do you do with Hamza? I mean, you give him a little bit of hush money. You give him the Joel Romero money. And that's what happened, back in 2000, I want to say 18, against GSP versus Michael Bisping. Joel Romero was supposed to contend for the belt. And, the UFC wanted to push, GSP's return, because GSP thought, well, you know what, if I'm going to take a run at middleweight and I want to win, the closest guy I could win against is Bisping, because I've trained with him. I've done a lot of things and I know his range. And so they gave a little, money to Joel Romero. He stepped back. GSP ends up winning. He ends up vacating the belt. Michael ends up fighting Kevin Gastelum the next week in, I want to say in China, and ends up losing in the first round. He wasn't really ready to take that round. And then, belts vacated. Rob Whittaker versus Joel Romero for the undisputed middleweight belt. So there's all these kind of parameters. Chimaev does deserve it. However, if the UFC kind of wants to give him, like I said, hush money, go Alex versus DDP, they could do that. In the interim, how this weight division could settle is basically have, as the champion stated, have Kyle fight Imavov for the #1 contender. And it's hard. So we're going to see what unfolds the next couple of months when it comes to these guys. Like I said, it was a great fight. Where to go for here? I told you with DDP, with Sean Strickland. I honestly don't know where he goes from here. This is going to be a very interesting fight. I was going to say, maybe he could fight Kyle, but apparently, Kyle and him are teammates now, or they've been helping each other. So I don't know if you really want to offer that fight. Maybe Robert Whittaker. He's not going to fight Izzy. Does it make sense? I don't think it makes sense to fight right now. Imavov, is coming from a win, so I don't think he'll take that fight. So let's see what happens, right? You got next week contending Jared Cannonier versus RoboCop. RoboCop is no joke. I'm trying to find RoboCop. He's not in the rankings. So RoboCop is looking to enter into the rankings. And, shout out to Jared for giving that match. But if Sean can't fight, maybe, and I kind of proposed this idea, maybe go down to welterweight and see how are the waters down there. Because, you used to fight at welterweight. Your fighting style is better suited for middleweight, but where do we go from here? Do we fight? I don't know. Do we fight #6, Kyle, your teammate? Do we, the winner of RoboCop and Cannonier? Do we want to kind of lace him up with Whittaker? I don't know. Maybe, maybe it makes sense. I don't think he's going to go up and in light heavyweight is a little bit too small for that division. So I think maybe a cut at welterweight. And Sean Strickland is a wrestler, but he didn't showcase it in this fight. And maybe it's time to go back into your roots and explore that. So I think he's going to take a little bit of time off to kind of reevaluate. Okay, well, this is what happened. Let me evolve. I really hope he does. He's a great fighter, great former champion. Nobody expected Sean to do what he did to Izzy. And basically there you have it. We're combat sports guys. We run kind of fight analysis every card. We kind of put odds, bets. We do predictions, analysis. Feel free to subscribe, and we'll be back for more.